Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of ClueCon Weekly. This week, joining us is Timothy Harrison from nowhere other than Australia, director at cybersecurity compliance management, and long-time expert in voice over IP and all things open source. So happy to have you here. First of all, that's great. Thank you for joining
Thanks
us.
for having me.
Would you like to start with a quick intro about yourself so we get to know you?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, in Australia, almost everyone's worked at one of the largest ISPs over here called IONET, and I'm no different. So I, you know, earned my spurs over there, and I never really took any sort of formal education or anything like that. I was more of a tinkerer and break things until I figure out how they work, and so moved across into things like web development, and then found my footing in the managed services provider game, that evil three-letter acronym that all those sysadmins out there don't like. But moved through several businesses and ended up joining an MSP that I stuck with, and I'm now an owner of. And yeah, we're looking for in-housing telecoms for ourselves. We found some open source projects that were backed by or had a major component of free switch, and had to figure it out. So all self-taught and all through experimentation. So yeah, been doing that for 17 years now.
Well, that's a long time, but it's I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting journey. So I'm curious. You'll be joining us at ClueCon, which is I'm looking for an event I'm always looking forward to. And your talk is about reviving open source community. I'm very curious about what that means, because it is a topic that has been brought up multiple times over at the show, because we have there's something going on, in my opinion. So I'm curious to hear your opinions, and if you'd like to give us a sneak peek of your talk.
So yeah, so as I alluded to, we looked for a PBX or a phone system for our own business at the time, and we looked at the things like Asterix, which was open source. We looked at things like Fusion PBX, which I know is also backed off FreeSwitch, I believe. And then we ran into one that's done by a company called 2600 Hertz, called Kazoo. And we found that ticked a lot of boxes for us, right? So it allowed us to stay in control of the code, stay in control of all of our infrastructure. It was highly scalable, highly clusterable, very reliable, all the things you want in a phone system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we started deploying that, and it worked out very, very well. Now, as is the nature of some projects, the corporate backing of that project went more into a private distribution. So they used a part of the licensing to continue development under what they call the version 5, and not publish that code, but run servers themselves for paying customers, which is well within their rights, right? It's their product. But at the same time, it's an open source project. Other people have put in their own time to contribute towards it, right? To give features and fixes and things. And so the version that pretty much anyone who runs open source runs off, version 4.3, is all written around CentOS 7, which is now a very old operating system and has now reached end of life. So there's no more security patches and things like that. So you can imagine anyone who's running this system in their environment is looking at, well, what do we do now? Because we'll have compliance requirements, security requirements if we suffer a hack or something like that. And it's because we were running on CentOS 7, which has been advertised as dead. We're not going to look very good. So what do we do? And so everyone was asking, when's version 5 coming out? When can we get the next version that supports a newer operating system? And it was, soon, it's coming soon, where the promise is coming out with no actual deadline or ETA or anything like that. And so it was a matter of, well, do you go it alone and try to fix up an open source project yourself and get it compatible with newer operating systems? Or do you build a new community around it and try to revive where the corporate kind of left off, and bring everyone back together who's using the open source platform to have a concerted effort to bring it back up to date? So, yeah.
That is a very reasonable. So what were the challenges you think you encountered when that led you to this thinking? Like, what would happen in particular? Just the operating system support, some other missing parts? Just curious what the reasoning is around it.
So I'll go into more deep detail over at ClueCon, but a couple of the major issues, apart from just an old version of the operating system, is, I suppose, growing demand for things like AI and other tools, right? Which require further development of the individual components of Kazoo. In addition to that, there's new requirements out there, like in the US. This doesn't really affect me because I'm in Australia, but in the US, you have a new standard out called Stir Shaken that you need to comply with. Otherwise, your number doesn't get displayed and all this other kind of stuff, right? And so how do we solve for Stir Shaken? In addition, even though the project is open source, there are components of it, like the database engine that's in it, which is like a modified SQLite that is closed source. And there's a few other components of it that it's closed source as well. Like in FreeSwitch, there's a module called mod Kazoo, and that too is not freely available from the source code perspective. And so we have these unique challenges to come over of, well, we can't just maintain the existing code. We need to adapt and go, well, what do we use as a database instead that is an open source project? You know, what do we use that replaces mod Kazoo that is open source, right? And so we had all those challenges to tackle.
And yeah, so I think it's more of a topic for maybe ClueCon, but maybe you can give us, if it's that part of your talk or not. Do you have any opinion on what's happening? Like, why are people seemingly, I want to say, less interested in open source, less interested? I know it sounds silly and bad to say so, but it really feels like to me that people are less interested in contributing to open source in general as of late. This might be my own feeling, absolutely, but you think there's something going on there?
I think it comes from a couple of different angles. I think, for one, a lot of people out there are looking to buy something and resell it, right? And go for a commercial product, right? That has all the benefits of, you've got a proper support channel and all this kind of stuff. For ourselves, it was like, well, there is support for the commercial product, but it's all in the US, which is 12 hours different from us. It's 8 a.m. for you guys, it's 8 p.m. for me. So when your support lines are open, you know, I'm asleep, and when yours is closed, I'm doing business. So we have those kinds of challenges that pushes us towards controlling our own code and understanding it better. But aside from that, I think it just comes down to, I suppose there's stuff like AI, again, gets a lot of attention and brings a lot of developers over to that side of things and the commercial potential that it has. And it kind of detracts away from, I suppose, community efforts and putting in essentially what is effort for no reward, right? Maybe a little bit, maybe your name on a commit or something like that, but it doesn't pay you anything. And so it has to be a labor of passion. And, you know, when economic times are hard, right, you have to go and do a job and get paid, and you can't contribute to open source, you know. Every hour I spend building towards this open source project is now I'm not contributing towards my own business, for example, and trying to grow that. And so it always ends up trying to be a trade-off of, what do you give away to give back to the community? Because I have to recognize as well, I've made money off an open source project as well, right? I sell phone services and so forth. So I do make money off that. And so I myself get a bit of a, I suppose, a feeling of an obligation to, hey, look, I've taken from this project over the years. I have given back at points, but nowhere in the amount that I've gained out of it, right? And so let's give back to that. And I suppose it just takes a certain kind of person to have, I suppose, the free time, the feeling of moral obligation, and the knowledge to go and do it, because that's you're looking for unicorns, basically. So yeah.
That's probably not far from the truth. Like I remember when the FreeSwitch project started, I was lucky to be part of it at the very start, and it was really a different time. People were more inclined to contribute. You just give things away. Nowadays, it's I think it's part of the different, job market, economic climate whatsoever. It's just different. It is. So the question becomes, how do I bring it back?
Yeah.
If there's a way, if there is a way to bring
How do
it
we
back,
bring it
how
back?
do we?
Uh,
Yeah,
that's always
that's a good question, isn't it?
it is a very good question. And look, I think it is through you need community leaders, you need community efforts, you need people to drive these things. These things won't spark out of nowhere, right? Um, we only managed to build our, Kazoo Classic, which we're now calling OSPBX, right? We only managed to spawn that out of a like a mutual vision, right? Everyone had the same problem that we're
Mm,
all using open source, right? And
right.
we're all going about it ourselves. This group of people over here, were tackling the older Erlang versions. This group over here was tackling Stir Shake, and these people over here had already done half the work that the other two had done. You know, and you get these duplication of efforts. And so it just took someone to go, "Hey, I'm going to start something," and then tell people about it. And so, yeah, it started with a simple, let's bring up a Discord server, right? Tell everyone to join it if they're interested. Start with the forums for Kazoo, then go onto
Mm,
Reddit and post about it and say, hey, look, we're
mm,
reviving this, and get a bunch more interest in that. And it's just, again, you need not just the talent of people who can code, who can contribute to the Git repositories and all that kind of stuff. You need people who can commit time to building communities and getting outreach out there and flying to the United States to go to ClueCon to talk about your open source project, right? Um,
yeah.
you know, you need this kind of motivation inside a few key individuals to bring a lot of people along with you.
Mm. Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. The fact that people are just not interested is something that should be changed into being interesting. I don't know how to phrase
Yeah.
it better. And it's probably due to bringing, even if you look at a few projects I know well, like Redis. Redis, the original founders have long left, and there's really not much going on that's just other than commercial stuff. Like, it's moving on pretty well, but you see there's even some. I think the first sign is something's wrong in an open source project is that forks or clones come up. It's
Mm,
happened to MySQL. It's happened to Redis. Most of people, don't want to say most, but a lot of Redis users now use their vault key, which is I think a clone of sorts, or Heroku has their own version, which is they call the Heroku key value store, whatever it is. It's not Redis, and I think that's that's probably something that's happening in other environments too. Yeah, the other thing I feel
but
like has disappeared is contributions from companies, frankly.
that was pretty much going to be my next preaching point. Is if you're if you're an organization, you're SignalWire, you're UMA or 2600 Hertz, and you've got this product that was, you know, it's benefited from contribution from the community, right? I think some of these organizations should put a real thought towards, community managers and getting interest in, uh, public contribution to your code base and all that kind of stuff. Look, it does take resources and all that kind of stuff, but there's an amazing talent out there that's
Hmm.
untapped, right? And again, we've got one guy in our community who's making absolute strides in his free time. And I know if he had, just a bit of corporate backing or something like that, so that he didn't have to work a 9 to 5 job at the same time, a lot of these code updates would be done, in days, not months, kind of thing, right? Um, and so, I don't know what kind of financial model would ever work for, sponsoring or backing open source community projects and things like that. But that's always been a big danger as well. Is the second you introduce money into, uh, I suppose, community free
Hmm.
efforts, you can spawn about a million other problems, right? So um, I don't know what the answer is there, but at the very least, internal resources, even if it's things like here's servers, here's our own coders that can give you an insight into the code. We can have coding sessions with them, have more public outreach for the people who are engaged and make fanatics out of them. And, if they're really good, well, there's your hiring pool as well. You don't need to post a job ad if you need someone who's good, right? You've just built them. So, yeah, I think there's real missed opportunities there for some organizations. Yeah.
I think I definitely agree. There's another thing that's I don't want to name names, so I won't. So I'm very tempted to do so because we know a few people that have been doing this, but I won't. There's also many companies that built large platforms on open source software, and they haven't given back anything, not patches, not even reporting bugs. And you know who you are. I know you. I know where you are, and it's been problematic since. And that's another thing that has gone away. Back in the day, before joining Singawire, I spent 9 years running a consultancy out of Atlanta, Georgia, and we had a couple large customers, including one I will name, AT&T. AT&T used the Ruby framework we had built to build some at the back in the day. So it's it's 15 years ago at this point. They were starting experimenting things like you had your call on your phone, you would move it to your browser by just tapping something, then moving back to your computer, then go back to even a smart TV, things like that. They were using a Ruby framework we built to do it because it was convenient, it was to experiment. They had 1 or 2 pull requests a week for us. Like anything they'd fix or they'd add, we needed a way to control timeouts. Your timeouts were hard coded to 10 seconds. We needed a way to put it to 30 seconds because moving a call to a smart television might take longer. So we need to be able to, for the call to stay alive longer. And it was really a brilliant way of interacting. And that's completely gone compared to what we've been seeing from a couple bigwigs right now. So I don't have other explanations other than everybody is just trying to squeeze the budget. Anything you contribute to open source is probably not being counted by managers to be as part of your job. So you end up being told, hey, look, why did you send a pull request to the FreeSwitch project when you were supposed to ship this thing to the big customer? And it is, I really think it's a legit concern and a legit thing that's going on.
I think so too. There can be, again, in the corporate world, you can have a lot of, probably not the right word to say, but selfishness, right? And this is the thing, again, when I said, like, I've benefited from open source projects, so I feel an obligation to give back, right? That's not going to be the feeling that everyone has. They're going to be like, oh, well, we use this, then we develop some new technology on top of it, and so we're going to keep that hidden behind the scenes because that's our cutting edge and that's business IP. You may even have some developers inside some businesses that would love to push back to repositories, and they go to their boss and say, hey, I want to commit this back to the source. And they go, oh, no, that's company intellectual property. You can't do that. You'll get fired if you do. Right?
Yeah.
So you have some of those problems. You have licensing issues. So I think like under things like the MPL and other similar licenses, you have to make your code public if you distribute it. But if I just run the servers and sell it as a service, but I'm not distributing the code to other parties, right, then I never have to do that, right? And, it can be then far-reaching if you say, well, if you ever run the code privately, you need to publish it. Like, where do you draw the line on licensing and all that kind of stuff, right? And so, there's a legal side to it about where you can push that, but I think again, it's about building communities. It's about, I suppose, building interest. It's building that sense of obligation, those fanatics, the fans about your code base, and it's not going to be easy. And you're still going to have those companies that refuse to commit back. But you got to take your losses sometimes, and you can't control other people. So you do what you can and bring along all the people that want to contribute and invite them to your ClueCons.
Speaking of which, have you ever been to ClueCon?
Never. Haven't even been to the US. I've been almost everywhere else in the world, but not the US.
Oh wow! So that's going to be fun. Yeah, it's well, expect a lot of like-minded people. Expect a lot of interesting talks, and yours included. Really looking forward to this.
There's a couple.
Well,
I think there's a couple of people even from our community that are going as well. So looking forward to catching up with them for the first time ever, since it's all been online so far.
yeah, that's the fun thing about our communities in general. We just end up, we meet each other online every day, and the funnest thing is when you meet someone else that you haven't never seen in person. Is the hate that usually catches you. Like you have a picture in mind of someone being tall. There's a good friend, Nicholas, that works here at SingleWire. That Nick that I hadn't met before, and he's kind of thin. So you only see him from here up, right, on call. So I picture it on being a normal height. It's like 2 meters and something. It's wow. It's
Well, I'll leave my full body reveal for the live event, so I'll freak everyone out that way as well.
Absolutely, do that. It's the most fun part. Yeah, been it's a great event. It's been going on for a while, and it's just good. It's good overall. People are having fun. It's really nice to meet like-minded people, exchange ideas, whatnot. So I'm always looking forward to it. Good. So, well, thank you, Timothy, for joining us today. I'm very much looking forward to your talk and to meeting you at ClueCon. And, well, thanks again.
No worries, and thanks for having me.
Rest of the people, I'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.